Ms. McReynolds?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're going to take up House Bill 771.
You missed one.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if it pleases y'all, I'm Sean Fleming. I'm with Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council. Representative Schroeder his daughter fell ill. She's been ill, and he's taking care of her, and he asked us if we would just share this and present this with y'all. So if it, I told Ashley I would help her do it. I'd like to just walk through the mechanics and just explain what the bill does, and then she has some comments. House Bill 771 addresses an issue y'all kind of looked at yesterday related to how tests are used.
What?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's fine.
Sean, hang on. House Bill 788 has been deferred, but voluntarily deferred. So if anybody's here on 788, I just want to let everyone know that House Bill 788 has been deferred. And also, just a few housekeeping things before we get started. If you wish to give testimony today, please fill out a witness card completely, sign it, and hand it into the Sergeant at Arms. Your signature is an affirmation that the testimony you give today is true and correct. Green cards are for support, red cards are in opposition, and white cards are for informational purposes only. Witnesses, when you testify, please state your name for the record and speak directly into the microphone. Please place your cell phones on vibrate, and if you need to receive a phone call, please step out of the committee room. To avoid audio problems, cell phones should be placed away from all live microphones, particularly those on the witness table. Okay, and before we do that too, I also want to make a motion that now that I think we have a quorum, that we adopt the 2-minute rule. For those of you who are new to our committee, the 2-minute rule means that the author or the people presenting the bill have 5 minutes. Right. The main presenter has 5 minutes to present the bill. The main opposition has 5 minutes, and all other witnesses have to limit their comments to 2 minutes. So please try to shorten your comments now if you're in the audience preparing to testify. If you have more you wanted to add and you didn't get to testify at the mic, you're welcome to turn in your written comments to Ms. Vincent, our Sergeant at Arms, and we'll add them to the record. So I move that we adopt the 2-minute rule. Is there any objection? Hearing none, we're going to adopt the 2-minute rule. Okay, sorry, now you can go ahead, Mr. Fleming. State your name for the record.
Thank you, Madam
please.
Chair. I'm going to use the 2 minutes. She's going to use the 5.
Okay.
We're trying to squeeze that all in. So what House Bill 771 does, it looks at how we're using tests to make decisions on a student basis. And the first thing it does is similar to what y'all did yesterday with Senator Morris's bill, is it removes the high stakes for promotion purposes for students at 4th and 8th grade, which hasn't been done the last few years, and my understanding wasn't the intent to continue doing. It also removes high stakes for a requirement for graduation. Right now we have the end of course test. And this conversation started 2 years ago when we looked at how other states compare to us with graduation rates for kids with disabilities, and y'all passed Act 833. But it really speaks, in my opinion, to how tests are misused. The way tests are developed, or what their purpose is to differentiate between students. And so when the department creates tests, they have to create achievement levels, and some kids will not meet any achievement level. They'll be at the lowest level, and some kids will be at the highest level. And because they have to be rigorous, some kids have to not meet that first level. And our state is one of the few that uses these tests on a student level for both promotion and graduation purposes. And it causes problems with dropouts, etc. Now, I know there, and Representative Schroeder said there were some concerns with using the high stakes currently. And the issue was to make it retroactive. And I know that there's an amendment to basically strip out the high stakes for students currently in school and just apply the decision retroactively, so that students who did not get their diploma previously, but just because of a test, but met all other graduation requirements, can petition to get a diploma. And that's a very few amount of students. It's like maybe 110 students, I think the department shared with us a year going back. So it's a very small group of people that went through school and just did not pass the test, the graduate exit exams or end of course tests previously. And I think there's an amendment that's going to be presented on behalf of Representative Schroeder.
Mr. Price?
Representative Price.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. On behalf of Mr. Schroeder, I'll go on and offer these amendment up, and Ms. Jolly, you can explain them, please.
Ms. Jolly?
Representative Price, members of the committee, the amendments that have been handed out and are now online will simply delete the language in the bill that Mr. Fleming referred to. It would be on page 1, deleting lines 19 and 20. On page 2, deleting lines 1 through 18. And on page 3, deleting lines 20 through 29 and deleting page 4.
So can you explain it now with, wait, Mr. Carter, do you have a question on the amendment? Okay. Can you explain the bill, Mr. Fleming, now with what it would be with this amendment?
Yes, ma'am. If you go to page 2 and start on page 19, it basically just keeps page 2, line 19 through page 3, line 18. And essentially what it does is, as I said, students who went through high school, earned all the Carnegie credits as required at that time they were in school, but did not pass whatever the state exit exam was, the graduate exit exam or the end of course test. That is a requirement. And interestingly, that's not a requirement in statute, but it's a requirement in rule through Bessie. But if they did not meet that, they can petition for a diploma and one can be issued to them. And the department gave us some numbers, but this is only about 110 kids or so a year. It's not really a whole lot of kids who meet this criteria.
And does it apply in perpetuity, or are people going to be able to come back?
It has time limits on it. Actually, they have to request it by the end of next year, like December 31st, I think, 17. So it's just kind of a one-shot deal where they will have about a year and a half to seek this, to seek a diploma. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so what does it take now? Okay, thanks.
Well, they can say that. They let them say that. I don't know.
Okay. All right, so Representative Price has offered amendment number 4555. Is there any objection to the amendment? Hearing, oh, I'm sorry, Representative Amade has a question on the amendment.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. With this amendment, it will now become the bill, and I just wanted to clarify that amendment number 7 would change that January 2017 date to 2018.
Well, that's actually on page, thank you. That's on page 3. That was a typo. That's seeking a report from the department on how many, for y'all purposes, for how many kids did this impact. And January 31st, 2017 is before the date people would have to apply. So it's actually just, I think Representative Schroeder's intention was after everybody applies for it to give y'all the public information on how many kids did this impact.
Okay, so
This is
you're
a
saying
report.
that the date in this amendment that gets changed from 2017 to 2018, you're fine with that?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, that's related to a report. It's not related to students seeking or requesting
Okay, so the
the
request has to
diploma
be in
by
on
December 31st to 17.
which is the date on page 2,
Yes, ma'am.
line 25. That date stays the same.
That date stays the same, and the department reports out the following January of 18,
Okay, I wanted to be
2018.
sure we're changing the proper dates.
Thank you,
with
ma'am.
the amendment.
I appreciate that.
Okay, and so my question would be, based on this amendment, well, I should wait until we see if it's adopted or not, because it will then become the body of the bill?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Okay,
put my light back
okay.
on then.
All right. Thank you, Representative Amadei. So Representative Price has offered amendment number 4555. Is there any objection? Hearing none, that amendment is adopted. And Representative Carter had a question first. So Representative Carter, and go ahead and push your button
Well,
again, Representative Amadei.
Let them go ahead and complete their testimony, and then
Okay.
I'll ask,
Okay. all right.
please. Thank you.
Ms. McReynolds?
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Ashley McReynolds. I'm a parent of a child with a developmental disability here from Baton Rouge. Never run a bill before, so this is new to me, so I'm a little nervous. So 771, like Mr. Fleming stated, deals with the use of requiring an end of course test for graduation to earn a high school diploma. But a high school diploma opens doors, and most people like to think that everyone with a high school diploma has actually met the same standards. But there are substantial differences in standards and requirements to graduate across states and even within our own state. 2 years ago, this body passed a substantial law that changes how students with disabilities graduated. But what it really revealed to us was how different graduation policies were across the country for all students. While we corrected it for students with disabilities, we heard from individuals, both with and without disabilities, who were denied a high school diploma just because they couldn't pass a test, even though they had passed all of their Carnegie units. Over 60% of the states do not use exit tests as a requirement for earning a high school diploma. According to federal law, students still have to take standardized tests, and in Louisiana, those tests are end of course. But should performance on those tests be used as a requirement for earning a high school diploma? Only 19 states require that students meet a state-established score on standardized tests to earn a diploma. So 31 states do not use a standardized test performance as a requirement to graduate. And the trend is actually moving away from these tests for student exit level decisions. In the last 2 years alone, 8 states have done away with what House Bill 771 has sought to do by removing standardized test performance as a requirement for a high school diploma. So some of those states have retroactively applied this shift. So there's a growing consensus across the nation that standardized tests are not appropriate to determine whether a student should exit with a high school diploma. I had the privilege of meeting a young lady, Brittany, who was the state's first known graduate through Act 833. Brittany left school with 32 Carnegie units, more than was necessary, but could not pass an end of course test. Thanks to Act 833, she re-entered school and passed her end of course test based on what her IEP team determined to be appropriate. She is now attending a radiology program in Colorado. But what's interesting is if she were lucky enough to be from Colorado, she would not have needed to pass a state exit exam to earn her diploma. So are her classmates from Colorado any less college and career ready than she is because she passed a test and they didn't? I and the majority of the nation don't think so. Within Louisiana, students experience continual shifts in which scores are required to graduate over time. We have shifted from the graduate exit exam to end of course test. Students have been graduating with 2 different standards or tests being imposed. Some students have had to pass the end of course test while others pass the GEE within the same school year to earn a Louisiana high school diploma. This committee passed a bill yesterday that delayed the use of high stakes assessments for progression of students in 4th and 8th grade for an additional year. Interestingly, that was not a difficult call because Louisiana had not been following the law for the last couple of years anyway. And according to Superintendent White, he has no intention of ever going back to using the 4th and 8th grade test as high stakes for students. And the scores necessary to meet the minimum cutoff changes over time as well. Not only with varying versions of the test, but over time there is cut score creep. As students perform better overall, we actually raise the standard. So the requirement perpetually ensures that a certain number or percentage of students will not earn that required score. Louisiana recently showed a significant shift in graduation rates, particularly for students with disabilities between 2012 and 2014. The graduation rate jumped from 33% to 42% in 1 year. Such a dramatic shift in exit outcomes seems to suggest an arbitrary shift made to the required test or the state scores on exit tests. So I want you to think of two students, one who barely made the score required by the state and another who almost made the score but didn't quite make it. How sure are we that the small difference in these students' performance on a single day was enough to deem one not ready to go to college, enter the armed forces, get an entry-level job, or a promotion later in life? That is a lot of confidence in a test and the precision of the scoring on that test. Most states have become to realize these tests do not live up to these standards. There are better ways to indicate someone is ready for college and a career, and we need to consider the end of using these life entrance tests for students.
Thank
and
you,
I have
Ms.
some
McReynolds, that you
handouts
the-
for each of y'all.
Ms. Dunn? And we're under the 2-minute rule, so you'll have to limit your comments to 2 minutes. And if you have more to say, you can submit them in writing to Ms. Vincent. And state your name for the record, please.
My name is April Dunn, and I'm a self-advocate from Baton Rouge. I have a perfect attendance during my 4 years of high school and earned a 3.0 grade point average. I left high school with certificate achievement instead of high school diploma because I wasn't not able to pass the essay exam. We had the essay exam instead of in the course then. Because of my disability, I was not able to pass these exams and earn a high school diploma. After high school, I attended a community college where I earned 90 credit hours with a 3.055 grade point average. But I can't get out. I study and work very hard and earn these good grades in college. So high school essay exams do not show if someone is ready for college. I got into Baton Rouge Community College before they required a high school diploma. Now students from most states can enter our community college system without passing a essay exam, but Louisiana students are held to another standard. Our essay exam prevents students like me from getting a good job or getting to college. Not having a high school diploma has prevented me to get a meaningful job. I can't do the work requirement, but I do not have the main qualification, which is a high school diploma. I like being from Louisiana, but I've been penalized and my life goals had all been cut short because of exam requirement to earn a high school diploma. Most other states do not require students to pass a exam to earn a high school diploma. It is not fair for someone from out of state who has my same skills earn a high school diploma without passing a test. I'm competing against that person for a job. They will get the job and I will not, just because I didn't pass a essay test.
Ms. Dunn, you need to wrap it up now. We have a time limit. I'm sorry.
I don't know how to plan for my future. I am limited by the fact that I'm missing a high school diploma. 2 years ago, I testified the House and Senate Education as in that you support at 8:30. I thank you all of you for supporting at 8:33. I am coming before you today to ask for your support of House Bill 771 so that people like me will receive a high school diploma. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn.